The way I would define it is that if you're a new relationship to us and you have existing assets that you've owned for however many years, I will take your financial information and I will give you an investment plan and strategy with your property to show you what we can do. And if we can, we'll be honest and I'll let you know what's going on with your assets. I'll give you a really good diagnosis on your asset. At the same time, when any of my clients are going to buy a property, we give them the same exact investment plan on what we're going to be buying, and we make sure that whatever we buy fits that investment plan. Right. So anybody that's going to be acquiring will say, I'll ask the client what they're looking for, what are the needs and features they want of an asset. And then as long as we align, then we execute, and then all of a sudden that's all that they're seeing, right? As far as types of assets coming to them. But if somebody wants to sell, and so once one of my clients buys a type of property that fit the plan, and once they acquire it, then we refine our investment strategy. And like clockwork, within 4 to 7 years, we're turning the asset over. We're selling it because we hit our metrics or measurables. So most of the time, we're involved in the asset management and then the investment strategy as well. A lot of these clients, our company personally manages their property, so we collect the rents, pay the bills, pay the mortgage, take care of everything. But then once we're in the lease rollover of any of the tenants or getting close, we have a definitive strategy. So I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example on two properties. We have a property in Port Orange, Florida, and the goal was that we want to keep the tenants there. We want to keep them happy. So we start keeping a pulse on the property about 1.5 years before the lease rolls over. Typically, the tenants have to notify us about 6 months prior if they're going to exercise their option. So we start looking into the marketplace, looking at vacancies, market rents, and tenant activity about 1.5 years. And as we get closer to that notification period, we already have a list and an idea of types of replacement tenants. But the goal is to keep the tenant there. Keep them there, keep them happy. That way we don't have a retenancy cost to the client and so forth. At the same time, if we're going to get a vacancy, then we make sure that we're on top of the vacancy and that we already have some kind of a dialogue moving forward with the asset. On the flip side, I sold a property to a client in Stockton, California, a 2-tenant building that was under one master land lease, and the land lease was very low. I sold the property for $2 million, and that was at a 4% return, which is very low. And I told the client, I said, this tenant is gonna forfeit their option to renew because their rent was only going to go up 10%. I said they're going to forfeit their option because they have no idea on how to manage this investment. More importantly, though, they're fragmented and they don't want to take anybody's direction. I said I try to work with them. They don't want to listen to anybody. I said, so if you buy this property from me, unfortunately, you got to pay $2 million, which is a 4% return on your money. But within 3 years, this tenant's going to forfeit their option. They had to give them a notice 90 days before the lease expired. And I said, it's virtually guaranteed that they're not going to exercise their option. Sure enough, they didn't exercise their option. They finally notified the landlord a month and a half after their notification period expired. And they said, hey, we're renewing our lease. And at that point, we just sent out a very nice letter that said, you forfeited your option. We renegotiated everything. The cap rate went from the return on investment went from 4% to 9%, literally overnight for the client. So on that scenario, we wanted to stay quiet, let the tenant do what they're going to do, which is forfeit their option. In that case, we can renegotiate terms. Whereas in Port Orange, Florida, we want to stay ahead because we don't want the client to go through a retenanting cost because we also have great tenants in the property. And so every property has its investment strategy. And based on that strategy and what we really want to do with the asset, we will maneuver conversations. And we stay in contact with the clients about every 60 to 90 days. We talk to the client on the property. Sometimes there's nothing to talk about. Other times it's just a quick check-in.